I'm delighted to say we have Andy Friend with us on the line to talk to us about his time at Connacht. Andy, you're somewhere in the mainland of Europe at the moment.
Yes, mate. We're in, I'll try and get it right, Saint-Mère-Église in Normandy. Landed in at Cherbourg yesterday, so making our way north as we speak.
How long are your travels going to take you?
Just shy of 6 months. We're back in Ireland near the end of November. Sell the motorhome, and then we'll fly home to Australia and see the family.
So it's ultimately the trip of a lifetime, a reward for time well spent in Connacht, I suspect.
Listen, we think so, mate. It's probably time well spent for the last 29 years on the professional coaching circuit. So I'll be honest, we've only had it in our plans for the last probably 3 years, but you very rarely get that or this time where you can just go and enjoy each other's company. That's my wife and I, and we know we're heading home to family, which is beautiful. So we'll enjoy these next 6 months. 6
months of driving around. Have you got anything specific on your itinerary, or are you just going to let you see where the open road takes you?
We'll follow our nose for most of it, mate. We've got a few good friends around Europe. Good mate in Dusseldorf, good mate in Munich, friends up in Italy, friends over in Switzerland, friends in France. So, and we will get to the World Cup for a couple of games, or certainly be in some towns for a couple of games. Divolt Senecal, who was our forward coach at Connacht, he's over in Oigne with his wife and daughter now, so we'll definitely drop in and see them. So yeah, we got a few little spots to stop, but the rest of the time it'll just be follow the nose and see what takes our fancy.
Is this the moment where you start to reflect on your time at Connacht, or had you begun to do that anyway as it was coming to an end?
I had started to do that. One of the things I love about Irish Rugby Union, they do support us as coaches, and IRFU have a fella by the name of Ger Shane, who's actually a Galway-based fella, but he's a high-performance coach support, and Ger has been really good to give me some time and to allow me to reflect upon the time that I had there. So he coordinated an exercise where we got feedback from 5 significant people, and he and I spent a good chunk of time over the last week or so going through that, giving me some feedback, because as a head coach you often don't get a lot of feedback, but it was great to get that feedback, and gives me something now to be pondering and thinking upon these next 6 months as we're on this break, but allows me also then to prepare for potentially life after Connacht when we get back to Australia. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but so I've done a bit of reflection, but I'm sure we'll do a little bit more over the next 6 months.
And what's the overriding emotion, Andy? Like, is it relief? It's, your 5 years is over, you can relax now away from the game. Is it a bit of sadness, or is it a mixture?
It's definitely a mixture. There's no relief. It's probably a sadness that we've left Galway and so many friendly people, and a club that I think I fell in love with the club and will always have a love affair with Connacht Rugby now. There's an element of contentedness. I feel like we've come in and we've done the job that we were asked to do, and I believe we're leaving the club in a good spot. I think Pete Wilkins is going to be a great appointment, and he's got a really healthy coaching team around him. I think the squad, where it is at the minute, is in a healthy spot. I know Willie Ruan as the CEO and his board, they've got great plans ahead, with new stadiums and new centre of excellence and so on and so forth. So I just feel like the club's in a great position. So there's an element of contentness around that, but definitely an element of sadness leaving some really special people and a really special job.
In terms of the feedback that you were getting, I don't know how happy or otherwise you are to talk any more about it, but it's difficult for people to take feedback. It turns out we're not good as humans listening to somebody say, I really like the way you do this, but what about the way you do this? Could you do it slightly better? What's that like for you at this stage of your career? I nearly said the end there, Andy, I'm sorry, but at the end of this particular section of your career, what's that like for you? Because it can be difficult to listen to sometimes.
I actually really enjoy it, weirdly, because so the way we did it was a pretty stock standard stop, start, keep, it's called. So what do you need to stop doing, what do you need to start doing, and what do you need to keep doing? and I had feedback in all three areas. There was a lot in the keep section, which was always a positive thing. So keep doing this. This works for you, friendly. And a lot of that stuff I knew anyway. Some of the stop stuff, most of that I knew anyway, because I am aware of some blind spots that I have, and I am aware of some failings that I have, as we all have. There was a couple there that went, oh, geez, I probably need to be a bit smarter on that. And then on the start, there was some really interesting stuff there. And one of the reasons that they probably came more as a surprise, because people look a little bit more outside of the box at your skill set and what you can offer. So there's a few suggestions there, and why don't you start doing this? And I thought, oh, that's handy too. So it was really good feedback. I agree with you. I think as humans we don't like receiving negative feedback in particular. But at the same time, you've got to get that, because we all have failings, we all have blind spots, we all need areas to work on, and we need people who we respect and who we trust who can give us that feedback. And so for me, I was really appreciative of the feedback and really glad to get it, to be honest with you.
Do you think your role changed from the time that you arrived to the time when you finished? That this is a question. Was there less coaching at the end than there was at the start, because you kind of hadn't instilled systems, and at the end it was more about trying to create or tend to the culture that you had created more accurately?
Yeah, most definitely, mate. I didn't do any on-field coaching in the last 12 months and did minimal in the 12 months prior. And so, when I came in, yes, there was a lot more on-field coaching and hands-on stuff, but that definitely faded out, which, when I took on that last 2 years, that was a definite plan, which is why, in that last year, my title became Director of Rugby, because it said two things to myself and the players, and to Pete Wilkins in particular, and to our supporters. Number one, Friendy's taken a step away from the on-field stuff, because we had Pete, we had Carly Tucker, we had Mossy Lawler, Deervelt Senecal, 4 really good coaches. So let them go and coach. And the second thing was just to open up that space for Pete, who had the title then as a head coach, and gave the players more certainty around, well, who's actually leading this program at the minute. I was leading the program in terms of the butt stops with me, but Pete was doing all the on-field stuff. So it was really important to give him that title. But definitely my role changed over the last 5 years, as it has done over the last 29 years. I started as a skills coach, where you're so ingrained in the nitty-gritty of a halfback's pass, or a line-out thrower's throw, or a kicker's kick, whereas you come through the coaching ranks, you just take a broader view of the whole game, and you get to where I'm at the moment. I'm not on-field coaching. It's a more broader strategic view of the whole program. So it's been a nice adjustment, to be honest with you.
Wonder, Andy, do you have any start, stop, keep bits of advice for Irish rugby now that you're leaving us? Like, is it and I know Dan McFarland had the comments during the season about the demographics favouring Leinster, and you have a playing budget that's I think half of Munster and Ulster and far less of Leinster. So what are your takeaways in terms of Irish rugby and the state of Irish rugby as it is currently, I guess?
Well, I think it's in a great position, number one in the world at the minute. You've got Munster winning the URC. You had Leinster reaching the second final in a row of Champions Cup. I was really disappointed for Leinster and for Leo in particular around that Champions Cup, because I just thought, they put so much energy into that. So you look at, Connacht made the semi-finals. Ulster's been up there and thereabouts for the last 4 or 5 seasons. So I think all 4 provinces now are really pulling their weight, which is adding to the success of the national team. And I think the job that Andy Farrell and his coaches are doing is fantastic. So, you got the women into the Olympics for the sevens, and men are trying to qualify there, but they're now a foundation team on the world circuit. So there's a lot of good things going on. Under 20s undefeated for the last 2 seasons. So plenty of good stuff going on there. So I think it's in a healthy state, to be honest with you. There'll always be stop, starts and keeps. I think the most important keep at the moment is keep all 4 provinces engaged, keep building the game on all aspects, I believe. I think that there's definitely a space for women's rugby and for sevens rugby and for 15s. Participation-based sport, professional-based sport. it's a tremendous game, and the more we can just push people playing the game, get involved in the game, the better it is for us all. So I think it's in a healthy spot, mate. There will be no doubt some stops and some starts. Dave Nisafor has asked me to give him a call on that over the next few weeks. So until I have that call with him, I'll probably keep my counsel dry on that.
Fair enough. Obviously, I'm sure that conversation will be really fascinating, because you've got embedded in the culture and you've seen it develop and evolve, and you know the plans for the future. With that in mind, and looking at your own journey from skills coach to director of rugby, and this is probably a question you're being asked quite a bit over the next while in the camper van, what do you want to do next?
Yeah, and that's the great unknown at the moment. I think I've loved this last year in supporting other coaches, and I think as a coach who's come through over the last couple of decades, there's not a lot of support there for coaches, and as we see at the moment, with social media and a greater spotlight on what we all do, there's more and more pressure building, and I fear for the game if we keep putting this pressure on new coaches, young coaches, and we don't give them support around them to tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, listen, what you're doing's fine, mate. You just lost a few games. Get back to process. Get back to what you're doing. Because I can promise you, when you're in that washing machine, you don't necessarily see the right things, and you do lose. You have doubt around, do I actually know what I'm doing? So I think the coaches need that, and I've really enjoyed being that bloke. Do I want to coach again? I'm not going to say no to that, but I probably want to get off the treadmill of club coaching, which is week in, week out, 40 weeks of the year. That's tough. It's tough. I've loved it, but it's tough on my family, and that to me at the moment is a big thing I need to focus on now. I need to give back to my wife, who we've had a great 5 years in Galway together, but we've had 5 years away from our two boys. And prior to that, I'd had another 6 years away from the two boys. I've had the last 11 years away from the two sons. They're not getting any younger. I need to spend time with them. So the club coaching won't allow me to do that. Potentially being a consultant where I'm supporting other coaches and supporting programs, I could do that. I could do both. I could share my experience. And I could also, be there for my boys, which would be really important to me. So, but in all honesty, I have no idea what that's going to look like in 6 to 7 or 8 months' time.
How difficult has that been, Andy, being away from the boys? Because even a lot of people spoke about people culture, and Ronan O'Gara has been the person that's brought that into La Rochelle. You've done the exact same with Connacht from the very outset, making sure the families were heavily involved. So what was that like for such a long duration of time, being away from the two boys? It must have been a difficult thing. It's something that people looking from the outside in, I guess, don't really consider or think about.
Yeah, it's tricky. I'm not the only bloke, and we're not the only people that have time away from their kids. But the bit that got me was probably about a year ago, 13, 14 months ago, where so it's just before we've got a granddaughter now. It was about 2 months before she was born, and my son and his girlfriend put up a photo of them together with another couple, and I said to Kez, I saw the photo, I said, geez, that's a lovely photo. I said, no, that's Fee, isn't it? Is her name Fee? It was the other woman in the photo. She said, yeah. I said, who's the bloke with him? She said, Freddie, that's Ando, that's one of Jacko's best mates. And I'm like, right, that's like, I shouldn't not know that. I shouldn't not know that young man there is best mates with my son, and I shouldn't have had to guess around who's that woman there. And that made me go, we've got a great relationship with our two boys, because we see, we're in contact, and that's one of the beauties of social media, or with the modern era where you can stay in touch. But I don't know the nitty-gritty of what those fellas are doing. And that's the bit that made me go, this has got to stop. I've got to get home, and I've got to, learn a little bit more about their mates and what they do. And, we play a lot of games, we play a lot of cards, we play a lot of backgammon, different board games. Just spend that time just being with them, whether it's sitting around a fire, whether it's, out camping, or whatever it is we're doing. I just haven't done that, and they're the things you miss. So they are tough, mate, because that's what's really important to us as a family, and they're the things that unfortunately we've sacrificed to do what we do. But we knew we were doing it, but now we know we need to get back to it, so we're going to head back and do that.
I'm right in saying one of your sons is totally and utterly responsible for recruiting Mack Hansen, though, at the same time.
It's a great story, that, isn't it? Listen, he will claim 100% responsibility, and he definitely had some input, because I didn't realise he knew Mack. But when I asked him the question, "Do you know Mack?" he said, "Yeah, I do," and he was able to give me some insights as to what it was. But no, he wasn't 100% responsible. We actually have a very healthy, strong recruitment plan at Connacht Rugby, probably the best I've ever seen, to be honest with you, where Tim Allnut runs that as our head of operations. The head coach is always involved. Willie Ruan, as our CEO, takes a massive involvement in it, and we've got our analysts flood through a heap of numbers for us and names for us, so it's a really comprehensive thing. I think the way that came out, it sounded like we'd fallen over Mack Hansen and we tripped up on him because my son had said, "This bloke can play footy, Dad." But no, it was a bit more to it than that. But he definitely gave me some insights as to who Mack Hansen was off the footy field prior to us signing him.
And does Mack have an Andy Friend tattoo yet?
No, I don't believe so. I did hear someone tell me the other day it was in a part of his body that we probably can't talk about. But no, I don't believe he does, mate. If he had it, I didn't want to see it anyway. He was good enough to come to me just before we drove out of the sports ground the other day to say, have a look at my new tat. And he showed it to me. I honestly thought it was Michael Checker. I said, "What do you got Michael Checker on your leg for?" And he said, "It's Faz." I went, "Oh, of course it is. Yeah, I can see that now." But it actually confused the hell out of me when he showed me. But listen, he's one of life's characters, mate, and he'd made a promise that if they won the Grand Slam, he'd get Faz on his quad. And a man true to his word, he's gone and done it. But he'll end up with a body full of different faces on it, no doubt.
Andy, enjoy the next 6 months, whatever they bring, and wherever you go next. I think the people, anytime we've had you on, will understand the authenticity and the story you told about missing your kids. I don't think anybody will begrudge you heading home, but there's going to be a legacy to your time in Connacht that's very clear, that anybody who's dealt with you from the media side, I can only imagine what it must have been like to play for you. And I remember you came to an OB that we were doing in Galway in race week, and everybody after was like, "Wow, I want to play rugby for him," and we weren't very good rugby players. So there's definitely going to be a long-lasting legacy to your time in Connacht, and so enjoy whatever comes next.
No, good on you, fellas. Appreciate your support since I've been there, and long may that continue for the club. It's a tremendous club. There's so many good people there, and it's on the way up. And that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of is, we've kept it on that upward trajectory, and I've no doubt that Pete and the playing squad and Willie will continue to take that, and all the staff continue to take that onward trajectory going forward. So I'm going to watch from afar. I'll always be a Connacht fan and an Irish rugby fan now. So I thank you for your time and your support of rugby in the game. It's been brilliant.
Best of luck, Andy. Cheers. Thanks a million.
Good on you, fellas. Cheers.